Welcome back anglers, Corey here from Salty Veins Fishing. Now let's talk fishing. More importantly, when and where you should be fishing this weekend. I'm going to cover target species and areas you should be trying from Mandurah to Perth and everywhere in between. This will become a weekly segment here, so make sure you subscribe. So let's get into it. This week's Fishing Thoughts is proudly brought to you by Port Kennedy Cycles and Fishing, your one-stop shop for all your tackle and fishing needs. Plus they've got some pretty incredible bikes to check out if you're a rider like myself. First off, let's head to Seabreeze and check out that forecast for the weekend. We have a storm front hitting the coast tonight and bringing strong winds and big swells. This will stir up the snapper for the boat fishing and the land-based anglers willing to brave such gnarly conditions. As we can see, Friday afternoon is going to be the nicest weather we are going to experience, with light easterlies and a swell that's falling under 2 metres. If you can get out then, I would recommend it, especially before the northerly winds push in and ruin the weekend. But just be mindful that we've had some strong winds and a big swell, and don't be a fool like me if you watch my last boating video and risk your life, your boat or your cruise life to chase fish. If in doubt, stay home, as the ocean may still be a bit angry after such a big swell and may potentially be a bit rough still, so take care. So what does that mean for the weekend? Well, the inshore reefs are fishing really well as of late for snapper, skippy, jewfish, and a couple of small yellowtail kingfish have been taken by anglers fishing some isolated lumps in a bit of rough white water. Lightly weighted or preferably unweighted muley cubes have been the undoing for most boated fish. With a low tide at 5:40 p.m. Friday night and a sunset not long after, you'd be crazy not to get out there and give it a crack. As always, burley is the key to success on the inshore reef systems. You're going to be focusing on 6 to 10 metres of water as the snapper move in from deeper water to start their hunting session in the shallower waters throughout the night. The Redemption Vamp squids are an awesome choice if you want to target these hard-fighting demersals on soft plastics. The Glow 5-inch is perfect for flicking about after dark. For the bigger boats, take advantage of the weather window and get out for a sunset session on the back of the 5-fathom bank. Plenty of action is occurring out there. Big skippy, large snapper and jewfish will be on the hunt Friday night, and dropping plastics, jigs or dragging a paternoster rig with some fresh fish fillets or squid heads will result in some hot action. Samson fish and yellowtail kings will turn up in your burley trails, so be prepared to get stitched up by some of these bruisers in the shallow, bommy-rich waters around the 5-fathom bank. Keep an eye on that forecast. With Saturday's low swell, hopefully that wind drops off and allows the boaters like myself the chance to get out there for a sunrise mission and chase some demersals. If that fails and those winds don't ease, the squid are showing up in big numbers and good sizes, and as we head further into winter, that's going to continue to improve. Friday afternoon would be a perfect chance to target these tasty cephalopods in Cockburn and Warnbro Sound. Jigs in the 2.5 to 3 size will be the go-to, with it being a slightly cloudy to clear afternoon. I would be fishing either a white with red head or a lemon coloured jig, and then as that sun starts to set, change out for a darker jig with a red foil belly, and you should be able to bag a great feed of squid for the weekend. Don't forget the scaler bag to make cleaning them a million times easier. Saturday morning, if that northerly maintains 15 plus knots, it would prove difficult to fish Cockburn Sound in any vessel, and especially for squid. The drift would be too quick in my opinion, and I would focus my squidding efforts on Warnbro Sound instead. With the land blocking the majority of the northerly winds, it allows for a nice, calm, sheltered fishing session. The herring and whiting are showing up in Warnbro Sound too. Target the whiting on the edges of the seaweed beds, but just be prepared to be harassed by trumpeter and butterfish. You may have to move around a bit. I've spent many a winter mornings catching good-sized King George whiting in Cockburn and Warnbro, and they're always a viable target when the weather doesn't let you out to fish the reefs for bigger species. Cockburn Sound and Warnbro Sound will see a few snapper taken Friday night from the boating crew, and we will slowly see more and more snapper begin to enter the sounds as we approach their yearly spawning aggregation. The north end of Garden Island is always a hot spot this time of year. I don't believe the D9 is holding many snapper at the moment, but it still may be worth a try. However, don't discount the rock walls. After the strong winds and big swells we're about to have, there should still be a few pinks patrolling these areas for an easy feed of stricken baitfish and rock crabs. Gummy sharks will be in good numbers in Cockburn and Warnbro Sound, and they never turn their noses up at fresh squid heads. Winter is always a prime time for hunting gummy sharks. Now you'll get gummy sharks on the same ground that you target snapper and mulloway, Also, they will frequent drop-offs from seaweed edges into the deeper water, where they'll come into the shallows at night to hunt for squid. Alright, so what about the land-based crew? Well, Friday afternoon will be a good session on the local beaches with the wind at your back. However, due to that swell and wind we'll be having tonight and Thursday night, I would believe the seaweed is going to be a pain. With a low tide and sunset coinciding, it would be a great time to soak a bait for a mulloway. And there should be some big tailor hunt on the beaches this time of year as well. Winter is always a great time to target some big greenbacks. If you can head down to the beach early Friday, check it out for seaweed in the surf. Otherwise, you might waste your time even trying to soak a bait. As always, gutters and drop-offs are going to be the prime area. Don't be afraid to introduce a steady flow of burley and see if you can't pick up a couple of whiting for fresh tailor and mulloway lollies. The salmon have really skipped the metro area this year, and very few have been taken by anglers, especially land-based. However, burling up a surf beach or the end of a rock groin, such as the Dawesville Cut, will be your best bet. If you can fish a live herring, then you've just increased your chances tenfold. They just can't ever seem to say no to a live herring. The rock walls will be a good choice Friday afternoon and Saturday with a northeast wind. Snapper and mulloway are always showing up this time of year for the land-based angler, willing to put in the hours. We should see the mulloway catch rate increase as the river fish leave the fresh water from the rains that are flushing out the Swan River and head into the ocean. North and south mulls are always a great spot to try your luck. Plus, there should be a few prawns on the outgoing tide. The Mandurah estuary still has a few crabs showing up for the dedicated crustacean hunters. Deeper water and patience is needed to net a feed though, and the Swan River is still producing monster crabs, but numbers caught by anglers is below 5 for an average session. The jetties are still producing herring and skippy, but just be mindful to measure your skippy if you plan on keeping them with a minimum size of 25 centimetres, as most of the land-based models are only just scraping over that size limit. A pollard and fish oil mix always works well to get the herring and skippy feeding, and if you're bored of using bait, try a small metal slice or soft plastic on a light tackle combo. Herring and skippy are a great light tackle sports fish. The kids love catching them, plus they can cast and retrieve for hours without having to bother you to constantly rebait their hooks, so it's a win-win. There have been some good squid caught off the rock walls and jetties of late. Plenty of anglers have been getting a great bag. A mixture of jigs and colours have been doing the damage. However, the slower the jig sinks, the more successful they seem to be. Now it looks like Monday the weather is getting worse again, so the snapper hunters will be rubbing their hands together to hit the rock walls again in search for a big storm pinky. Alright guys, well that's a quick overview of what's on the cards for fishing this weekend with the weather and what's been happening fish-wise. As always, keep an eye on the weather and plan your trip around the conditions. If you want to appear in next week's fishing thoughts, send me a pics of your catches via Facebook. I'll add the link to my fishing page below and you can appear in the next video. Tight lines, get out there and have some fun. I'll catch you guys next time.